Oh, no, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
Let's see what happens if I. Okay. Are we? Oh, excellent. We are live, guys, with the remodel recipe. I'm here with Tim, the kitchen remodel master, and this today we're going to talk about remodeling your kitchen and the order to remodel your kitchen in. Because if you don't remodel it in the right order, then you will ruin your kitchen, guys. So stay tuned if you are thinking about remodeling your kitchen and you want to find out from industry experts, especially Tim, how to make sure you plan it out correctly from start to finish and do everything in the correct order to make sure you don't make anything messed up. Then check this out, guys. So I'm here with Tim, and this, just so you guys know, this episode is sponsored by Live Well Construction and Remodeling. And we are we have Tim here with Live Well Construction and Remodeling, and he has been remodeling kitchens and doing cabinets for since before I was born. So take it away, Tim. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. Why should we listen to you about kitchen remodels?
Hi, buddy. Been doing this a long time, 42 years now. Have had 18 years in design, as well as owned my own cabinet shop for 19 years. Still have a cabinet shop on my property, a shop on my property now that I use to build custom piece of furniture and cabinetry for friends, as well as my own company. Have used my skill for several projects, one in the Grant Park area over in Northeast Portland, and a couple vanities in the Southeast Portland area I've done. But been doing this an awful long time. My father taught shop. My grandfather was a master craftsman. So I tell everybody I grew up with a wooden spoon in my mouth.
Nice. All right. So let's just get right into it, guys. We're going to tell you guys about the order to remodel a kitchen in. And we are going to start with design. So, should you design your kitchen before you remodel it?
Absolutely. I think you should be designing your kitchen, have a good layout of what you like. I also think the budget needs to go right in there with the design to be realistic with what you're planning. Your design is critical because it's going to want to have a list of all of the things that you want in your kitchen, all of the things you really don't want in your kitchen, and all of the things, if money wasn't an object, you'd love to have in your kitchen. Sometimes space doesn't allow for those things, but you should have all of those in the design process at the beginning before any money is spent.
Is there any um, myths or misconceptions about designing kitchens that you've run into?
Well, I think the thing that when you don't have a background in this kind of work, there's it's I don't think it's extremely difficult to do it, but I actually believe it's very easy to to do something that could be catastrophic. As in when you go around a corner and you have a easy reach cabinet, or I mean a blind corner cabinet that goes back in at an angle. It's just to try and get access to that dead space in a corner. You always need to make sure you leave a filler in that corner coming the opposing 90-degree direction. Sometimes you see people not put that filler and they put the stove there, and then the drawer of that blind corner cabinet comes out 6 inches and then it hits the door handle of the oven. Or the dishwasher opens 5 inches and it hits the knob on the opposing side drawer that's coming out. So you have to open the drawer, take the drawer out to open the dishwasher, or remove the knob. Lots of little things like that that if you don't have experience in doing it, you could really create some costly mistakes, especially if somebody didn't catch it during the install before appliances went in and you got new stone countertops put in. Now you've got to have the stone countertops removed. You have to rework the cabinetry back to the design drawing board. You've got reorder of cabinetry could put massive delays and a lot more cost into your actual kitchen.
Okay. And so can people just design the kitchen themselves?
I would say they can, but I would say that's a dangerous thing to try and do themselves. They can get a basic layout. They definitely can say, hey, I want my stove here. I'd like my refrigerator there. I'd like my sink over here. But they really should have a professional look at it. If they don't, they're really, unless they've got some sort of background in construction, they're asking for a whole lot of headaches.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So let's talk about the rest of the what's the next step after you've got the design and you let's say you've gotten the we can talk about in another live session we can talk about how to choose fixtures, how to order things and all those things to avoid delays and all that, and how to get stuff into your budget. But after you've got all the stuff on site and you are going to start tearing into your kitchen, what is the next step?
Okay, taking into consideration that we've had the design and we've had it professionally measured, or they've double checked the measurements with the design to make sure that the design is going to fit in your space, then my next suggestion is I usually like to demo right down to the studs. That opens up all access to the walls where the new kitchen's going to go. And if for some reason the stove's going to be moved over 6 inches or, you know, 2 feet, and the sink, they want the sink into the island rather than in front of the window. Once the walls are open, all the plumbing changes can be made. All of the electrical can be relocated for under cabinet lighting, for the microwave cabinet, for a double oven going in an oven cabinet. All of that can be done, and then can be actually has to be permitted, but would be permitted and then would be inspected after the work's done.
Okay, so basically you open up the walls and you go down to studs basically. But
That's the way I like to do it. You can cut some grooves for all your electrical to be moved, but for the price to remove everything and then to repatch everything, it's almost easier to just take the couple sheets of sheetrock off each wall and just open it all up. 8 feet, 10 feet one way and 8 feet, 10 feet the other way. You're talking about 6, 8 sheets of sheetrock at the most, and the tape and texture, and you're back at it. But it's really nice for the plumbers to come in and have complete access to wall, and electricians to have complete access to the room.
okay, so you have to take out to studs. That means you have to remove the cabinets.
Yep, the cabinets would be part of demo.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
So
move.
something that I always ask customers right at the beginning: do you have a second source of water? You understand you're going to be eating out a little. You're going to be doing some picnic lunches a little. You're going to, be doing some dishes in the bathroom or the laundry tub.
Yeah. Or you can also, if you're willing to add it to your budget, you can have your contractor make a temporary kitchen for you somewhere
Yeah.
in the house.
Yep.
If you've got
Yep.
room, you should definitely
Yep.
ask your contractor about that if that's interesting to you. Um,
And we've done that quite a few times, Justin, where we leave just a sink running. We'll remove everything in the kitchen except the sink area. Still take the walls open, but leave that last sink for the last little bit to come out. Let them do the electrical around that area, and then the last thing to come out is that sink. But we're usually pulling the temporary sinks out just a day or so at the most before we actually start setting new cabinetry, so that we can get that sink base cabinet in and use our temporary countertop and our temporary sink. Once the sink base goes in, we just set that back on the sink base and have running water within a 48-hour period.
nice. Okay. And
Yep.
then, um, yeah, there is our sponsor picture there, Livo Construction and Remodeling. Okay, so moving on to step three. What would be step 3?
After inspection's done and the plumbing and the electrical's been approved, Then we would sheetrock it, texture it, tape it, mud it, and paint it. And that way, it's much easier and much safer to do a little touch up of sheetrock or a little touch up of paint that got bumped by a cabinet or a countertop or something, a tool. It's much easier to fix that little stuff than it is to get paint that you've spilt all over the brand new cabinets that you just installed. So we always want to tape, mud, texture, and get it painted prior to cabinetry going in.
Have you seen anything like this happen before?
I've seen all of those nightmares where painters came in and said, "Oh, we've taped everything off with plastic," and they go to spray in, and then when they open it up, you realize the plastic wasn't tight against the wall on one side or the other, and all that overspray bled into it, got inside the cabinets, got on some faces of the cabinets, and that can be. And then the biggest issue was the painter, after he realized what he had done, he went to cleaning the front of the new cabinets with lacquer thinner and wrecked the front of two new cabinets trying to get the dust
Wow.
off.
So this
And
is
that's just a mistake that's made, and those things happen, but those things are definitely preventable, so they shouldn't happen.
got it. Yeah, so you definitely want to make sure that you vet your contractor well and make sure they know what they're doing. Make sure that the project manager is staying on top of things. And if you see anything in this video happening the wrong way, um, then make sure to speak up before it happens. So um, let's see if we can move on in just a moment, um, because it looks like sometimes the view is not good. Well, let's continue and we'll see what happens. But so after you've demoed, after you've um, done what you just mentioned, which was the wiring and plumbing relocated, inspection, sheetrock texture and painting done, then you cabinet install, right?
Yep, we're ready for cabinet install. Here's something I want to let everybody know. When you start your cabinet installation, you really need to know the new flooring that's going to go in. You need to know the thickness of that flooring because you want to make sure that you set all of your cabinets up within about an eighth of an inch of the height of the new flooring going in. You don't have to be all the way to the top, but you want to be at least an eighth of an inch so that your cabinets only set down in the new flooring an eighth of an inch. One reason is you don't want to lose your countertop height. The countertops are right at 36 inches high. If you have countertops at 32 inches and you're a taller gentleman or a lady, the thing to remember is you'll be bending over farther. That's more stress on your back, and you will not enjoy countertops lower. I actually did a job for a couple, and they were both well over 6 feet tall. And we actually raised the cabinets by bumping them up 4 inches and finished their countertops at 42 inches. They were both 6'3" and 6'9", so they really like their countertops being higher. Now, for the average guy my height, that might not work as easy. Have my arms up around my chest more than down where I really like to cut. But cabinets, make sure you're shimming them up or blocking them up at least within an eighth of an inch of your new flooring going in. But all your cabinets should be able to go in. When that's done, you can put handles and knobs should be able to go on, and you're ready for next step.
Nice. Okay.
One thing I want to interrupt, Justin. I'm sorry to forgot this. Um, this comes from years and years and years and years of experience, people, with this comment. Cabinetry are to be set level. Now, if they say level within an 8 foot span, within an eighth of an inch, that's not level. That's out of level, 1/8 of an inch in an 8 foot span. Level means just that. It means level. That doesn't mean you just slowly drops to one end. So cabinetry level is very important. That's from the wall to the face of the cabinet and from left to right.
And so how would you get that wrong?
Well, the easiest way is to use a 1 foot bullet level or a 2 foot level or a even a 4 foot level is starting to push it. When you're doing longer runs of cabinetry, it could be fairly close to the center of the bubble between the two lines on a 4 foot level. And if you're going 16 feet to the right and you continue to use that level going over, if you were to set a laser level on a tripod in the middle of the floor, there's a really good chance you could be out of level, maybe in that 16 feet. I would say anywhere between an eighth of an inch and a quarter of an inch. And I've seen worse, much worse than that in my lifetime.
Nice.
So when
Okay.
I'm setting cabinets, I'm using 4 levels and a laser. So I use a 1 foot bullet level and a 2 foot level and a 4 foot level and an 8 foot level, and I will stack them on top of each other in certain locations to make sure that all 4 levels read center bubble right on the money. And then I track the front and back of the cabinetry with my laser level that will touch the front top face frame and the the back top of the cabinet. And if you see the red line all the way around there, you know you are level, right on the money. Recently, we did a job in Estacada, and they had a pass through of 18 inches by 18 inches to the left of the cooktop. That pass through went into a butler's pantry. The pantry had an 8 foot by 10 foot L shape, and the 8 foot section backed up to that pass through, and the 10 foot section where the stove was sitting backed up to that pass through, and the countertop was going through the pass through. So I not only had to make sure that the 10 foot level where the stove was going was level, I had to take my levels and laser through that pass through and make sure that the L shaped countertop in the next adjoining room was also level based off that 10 foot. It was actually a fairly difficult install, but we got it right on the money. And when the templaters came out with their laser to template the countertops, the guy grinned at me and he goes, "You've been doing this a few years, haven't you?" And I grinned and I said, "Yeah, I was taught by some really great people. I've been doing it a long time, and I'm really kind of a perfectionist when it comes to doing countertops and cabinetry level." So
Nice. All right. What's the next step after getting those cabinets level?
now, my next step, I'm going to recommend the flooring. And people sometimes say, "Well, why don't we put the flooring in first?" Well, this is my argument with that comment. Yes, if you're doing a hardwood floor and you're doing the whole floor, yep, you can do stuff like that. I'm not saying you can't do the flooring first, but when you put your flooring down first and you have somebody, maybe you have the young helper that's a little more careless bringing in cabinets, and he gets a stone in the dolly and he drags the stone click 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 across your new wooden floor, and now you've got dents in your wooden floor from the little rock that he had in the wheel of the dolly that had the 75-pound cabinet on it. So if you don't do the flooring till last, you end up with less chance of dropping a tool, dropping a cabinet, dripping some paint, any of those things. um um Hold on, I got to back up, Justin, because I think we totally missed a step, which we did. Um, uh, Hold on one sec. I get back to where I was. After cabinets, I apologize. We need to go to countertops.
Yes, yes.
So I jumped ahead. I apologize. Countertops would be after cabinetry, and then those go in. That would be if you do it an undermount sink, you could have the plumbing done, so you'd have running water. Overmount sink, plumbing can also be done. And then with the countertops, I'd also have you consider, are we doing the countertop material backsplash? So are we doing laminate where it's all post form? Are we doing a quartz where we're doing a set on quartz 4 inch or 6 inch high backsplash? Are we doing a full height backsplash with quartz? Or are we doing a tile backsplash or something more decorative? So I would want the backsplash to go on after the countertops go on. Then we'd go to the flooring.
Okay. So you want the backsplash after the counters. What do you do to protect the counters during that time?
Well, I would use ram board. I'd make sure that it was nicely covered with ram board with at least a small quarter of an inch reveal on the back of, so the actual tile would sit on, you'd be putting your spacers in on the countertop itself, not necessarily on ram board and tape and all kinds of other, giving you a bigger gap at the bottom. I think it's important to make sure that you use a flexible color match, grout matching color match caulking between a tile backsplash and your countertops, so that as the house moves and flexes in the heat in the summer and the moisture in the winter, that joint stays flexible and doesn't end up getting a big crack in it from where the house moves over time.
Got it. So, um, this is basically a template that we're giving you so that you can literally take notes on this and then use this to interview your contractor and say, what is your process? And make sure that they actually are going to do the things in this order. That would be a great way to understand if they have experience, is to say, what order are you doing the kitchen remodel in? And like if they say flooring, um, before countertops, or flooring before cabinets, then you've watched this video, so you know that's not how you want to do it. So,
Yeah,
and
and it may not be, Justin, that they don't want to do it that way, but if they want to do their flooring first, I would definitely want a really good explanation or reason for the contractor doing it that way. Maybe he is doing a tile floor, or he was doing it a different way. That's okay. Things can be done slightly different, but for the reasons that I've explained over years and years of watching flooring be damaged, or a chisel dropped on a new tile floor and now you've got a chipped tile that's got to come out. There's reasons that you should definitely look into things or get a good explanation if they're not doing it somewhat close to this order.
nice. So now we're moving on to what is the next
You still
step
there?
after. Yep, I'm here. We're moving on to what's the next step after cabinets and countertops.
Cabinets, countertops, then their
Backsplash.
flooring. Another thing I want to let you know, Justin, and I've seen this happen, huge mistakes where customers have an existing home, existing kitchen, everything's beautiful, but they've decided to put in a brand new 3/4 inch solid hardwood floor. And the flooring goes in and everything's done and everything's beautiful. And then 6 months down the road, their dishwasher conks out. And now they
Uh-huh.
realize that their dishwasher has been floored into its space between the countertops and the new 3/4 inch flooring. And even if they put the wheels all the way up, I mean, or the feet all the way up on the dishwasher, it will not slide out from underneath the countertops. So you have one of two options. You remove the countertops or you remove the flooring in front of the dishwasher. That's a
Neither of
fairly
those.
catastrophic thing to have happen to a home.
Yeah, because neither of those is an efficient repair. It's not good to have.
And that's the kind of thing that a flooring expert or a countertop expert or anyone doing a kitchen should know and should be prepared for those kinds of things. That's one of the reasons I mentioned blocking up the cabinetry for that new flooring that you're going to put in.
Yeah, so just to so you guys understand that you want to make sure you remember that a countertop is almost, especially the higher end you get, but pretty much always is a solid piece. So if you have to break that up put it to get a dishwasher out, then you're basically ruining the whole counter, because you don't want a giant seam there in the middle of your. So basically, you're just you're gonna have to redo the countertops, um, or with the floor, especially if it's a higher end floor. Then same thing. You don't want a seam where you can see a square cut out of the floor, and so you want to make sure that you avoid these order mistakes, so that you don't have to spend a bunch of money to replace an entire floor or an entire counter, and so on and so forth. All right. So what's so basically right now we've gone through design, demo, wiring and plumbing, relocated, inspection, sheetrock and painting, cabinets, and then you said You
I
after
said
cabinets.
countertop,
Uh-huh.
countertops, then backsplash, then flooring. And that's
Gotcha.
so that all of those things have been done. Tile doesn't get dropped, backsplash tile doesn't get dropped on the floor. So countertops, tile, backsplash, or backsplash, whatever you're doing for backsplash, then your flooring, and then the last thing that should take place is the installation of all your appliances. One of the reasons, again, we don't put the appliances in sooner, even though people like to have the toaster or the blender or the mixer or the dishwasher to do things, is those things, when they're brand new and they're stainless steel, one little ding, one little dent, and you've got a permanent dent in that appliance or a permanent scratch on the front of it. So we try and do that last. Now, obviously, you want all of those appliances at your job somewhere safe. So when the countertop temperatures come out, they can look at the plans, make sure they've allowed for enough space for this stove to slide in, whether it's a freestanding, whether it's a slide in, whether it's a set in, all of those things. If you go to oven, single oven or double oven, do you have an oven micro combination? Did they make enough room for your dishwasher? You know, uh, did they make enough room for your refrigerator? Is the cabinet above the refrigerator tall enough to make sure it allows for the fridge to slide in? All of those things need to be on site, and you have to have those things picked out way back during the design process.
Got it. So that yeah, that's a another thing that we always try to tell customers is that you really want to make sure you have that design in place and make sure that you are sure about what you want. Um, and also you don't want to order things 3 days before you're going to put them in. You ideally you should have multiple weeks before you order pretty much anything. How long do custom cabinets take right now?
Right now, the vendors we're going through are between 6 to 8 weeks away from the day they're purchased.
Yeah, so that can definitely hold you up if you don't get those ordered quickly. So we've gone through a bunch of different ways that you can ruin your kitchen if you don't get the order correct. And um, one thing about the appliances, really quickly, uh, you've got your floor in, and now you're going to bring in the appliances. How do you propose you get the appliances in and make sure to be good with the floor?
Again, we would cover everything, all the new surfaces we're working over the top of. We use Ramboard. It's a very, very dense rolled cardboard, and it's all taped down. We try and tape only the perimeter so we don't have any chance of pulling the flooring texture up at all. And we try and stay around the edges, and then we tape Ramboard to Ramboard. So we try and basically cover the entire usable surface of your kitchen floor while we're finishing up.
All right. Well, that is it, guys. We have concluded the first episode of the remodel recipe. So if you need a recipe for your kitchen remodel, come and hang out with us, ask your questions, and we will be live again next week. So just to recap, we you go design, then demo, then wiring and plumbing, then you have to have your inspection for the electrical and plumbing, then you put in your sheetrock and you paint. I repeat, you put on your sheetrock and then you paint before you put in your cabinets because you don't want to paint your cabinets. Then you do countertops, then backsplash, then flooring, and then appliances. All right,
That's the
guys.
way we'd recommend it.
And follow us if you'd like to learn more about remodeling kitchens. Peace.